If we lived in a logical economy, this piece of Pacific Northwest rock maple would be shaped, pressed, and sold right here at home. But it isn't. Back in the 1990s, the political establishment struck trade deals like the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, a treaty designed to eliminate barriers to trade and investment between the US, Canada, and Mexico. They argued that removing these international trade barriers would make everything cheaper and more efficient. Look at this map showing the actual journey of this wood. We harvest the lumber here in the US, load it onto a cargo ship, and burn fossil fuels to transport it 15,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean to China, manufacture the product, and then ship it another 15,000 miles right back to the exact same American consumers. We waste all of that energy and time for one highly specific reason. Overseas factories pay their workers pennies on the dollar. A foreign laborer will assemble the board for a fraction of what an American worker requires to feed their family. That offshore wage gap gutted domestic manufacturing. Over the last 15 years, the American skateboard industry went into freefall. Steel mills, processing plants, and local factories shut down because they simply could not compete with foreign poverty wages. When you stop pressing boards locally, you lose the manufacturing jobs. Without those jobs, you can't sponsor professional writers. The local culture dries up, and the domestic e-commerce businesses built around that community go bankrupt. You get a cheap $35 imported skateboard, but you pay for it with your neighbor's livelihood and the collapse of your local industrial base. To fix a broken equation, you have to change the math. A tariff is a financial penalty applied to imported goods. It targets that highly inefficient 30,000-mile overseas supply chain and taxes it. This chart shows a side-by-side cost breakdown of the old supply chain versus the new one. When the U.S. places a tariff on imported skateboards, the exporting country often retaliates with their own tariff on the raw American lumber entering their factories. Those cumulative taxes stack up fast. That artificially cheap $35 imported skateboard now faces taxes on the raw materials going out and taxes on the finished product coming back in, pushing the final retail price well over $100. Meanwhile, an American company sourcing local wood and paying American workers can produce and sell a high-quality skateboard for $55. For the consumer shopping online, the choice is suddenly obvious. The $55 domestic board beats the $100 import every time. Tariffs act as an equalizer. They strip away the artificial advantage of foreign poverty wages, forcing overseas products to compete at a realistic price point and giving American manufacturers a fair chance to win the market. When the math favors local production, the lights come back on. Companies realize it is cheaper to build at home. They internalize their supply chains, sign leases on empty warehouses, and hire local workers to run the machines. This physical infrastructure provides national security. A country that maintains its own industrial base and controls its own supply chains cannot be held hostage or starved of critical supplies during a global crisis. Reindustrializing the nation requires domestic production to be financially viable. When it is, the economy hardens against outside threats. This localized revival extends far beyond skateboarding. The exact same mathematical reality applies to the entire e-commerce landscape. We see it in clothing brands, local beverage startups, and heavy industries like aluminum refining. It is true that in the short term, buying the absolute cheapest, lowest quality items from overseas megasites will cost you more at checkout. This line graph illustrates the trade-off. We see a brief, shallow dip representing short-term consumer costs, followed by a massive, sustained upward curve in domestic job growth and gross domestic product, or GDP, which is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced in a country. That upward curve represents a self-sustaining ecosystem. When citizens hold stable, well-paying manufacturing jobs, they actually possess the disposable income needed to purchase the very products they are building. We have a choice. We can keep sending our raw materials on absurd global vacations, or we can embrace policies that make building things here profitable. Support domestic e-commerce, buy local, and let's put our communities back to work.